Good morning. It is 8:30, and we are going to call the Transportation Policy Committee meeting to order. First or second agenda item we've got is acknowledgement of quorum, and we do have a quorum here this morning. Safety procedures number 3. Follow Mr. Atkinson, as they always say. Moving through. Number 4, public comment period and acknowledgement of guests at Transportation Policy Committee. Any public comments this morning? All right, seeing none. Moving on to agenda 5, which is approval of the meeting minutes from July 16th, 2024.
I move to, I'm sorry. There you go. Move to approve the minutes as circulated.
Got a motion by Judge Parrish and a second by Dr. Wilson. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, same sign. Motion passes. Okay, agenda item number 6. Discuss and take action regarding Resolution 2024-07, which is amending the MOU between the Lubbock Metropolitan Planning Organization, Texas Department of Transportation, and the public transportation operator in the city for the city of Lubbock, Citibus, and referencing the Transportation Management Plan and the Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan to satisfy Federal Transit Administration guidance. Mr. Jones, turn it over to you.
I guess I need to turn it on too. Before we get into that first agenda item, I want to say just a word about your cover for your agenda this morning. I thought it was interesting as I was looking through some Bureau of Transportation Statistics publications, and I came across this map of showing all the MPOs as a result of the last census across the United States. And the interesting part of it about the way the distribution is, Texas with 20, they're showing 23. We now have 24 as of a couple of months ago. Texas is second only to Florida with 27, followed by Pennsylvania with 20, California and North Carolina both with 18 each. And then it drops off significantly across the rest of the United States. So I just thought that distribution would be interesting. So, get through everything. Let's get to agenda item 6. As the certification team was talking about the 3 MOUs that control our operations, the Federal Transit Examiner noted that we needed to amend the City MPO Citibus MOU to provide specific language inserting the Transit Asset Management Plan, or the TAM plan, and the Public Transportation Agency Safety Plan, the PTASP plan, by name into the agreement regarding developing performance targets and measures, including tracking and reporting to the MPO. By the way, this amendment also needs to go to the City Council since they are party to the agreement. The resolution in your backup, right there, shows you in Section 1 how we made that reference. You can see we deleted in its entirety subsection I, Section 5, and inserted the new wording that you see in the resolution. And that's all it is. If you have any questions.
Mr. Atkinson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. David, does TxDOT also need to accept this, even though they're a named party?
Yeah, we've never included them in that process.
Okay, so if the board takes action today, the MPO will then submit that to the city for the council's consideration?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions regarding the resolution in front of us? All right, seeing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve Resolution 2024-07. Moved by Mr. McBrayer, Mayor McBrayer, and second by Ms. McDonald. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Okay. Headed on to agenda item number 7. Discuss and take appropriate action regarding a resolution 2024-09, which is ratifying the action taken supporting the 25 through 28 Transportation Improvement Program priority project listing and memorializing its position in the placement of collateral elements in line with the target date for approval of the updated MTP 2020-50. So, Mr. Jones, take it away.
Thank you. The Policy Committee conditionally approved the tax recommendation or recommended priority project list for the 25-28 TIP at your last meeting. However, as you know, the published public involvement period ran for 2 additional days to pass your board action, and there was no resolution offered to memorialize that occasion. We did not receive any additional public input, and there's been no discussion that has surfaced during the month to necessitate any reconsideration of that list. So this agenda item considers a resolution, which is here, to affirm or ratify your previous action regarding the POP, which is what it's referenced as in the law, or program of projects that will continue along the route to the target date for approval of our long-range plan. The takeaway here is that the POP, that plan, will become, when the long-range plan is approved, will become the constrained plan, constrained part of the plan. And unless or until it is amended, and then the rest of the projects, as you recall, that were submitted for the call will all become part of the unconstrained plan, or as the law calls it, the illustrative plan. And then, as it moves along, as projects mature, they'll be pulled up from the unconstrained plan and added to this plan, or amended to this plan, as we, in a year or so, begin to work on the 26-29 TIP. Remember, that's always a two-year process. If you're wondering why the transit projects are attached, they are also considered as constrained by FTA guidance, and must be attached to the POP. They're just Citibus's operational budget, basically, that is approved by the City Council. Now, for the first time ever, as you recall in our discussion of this plan, Citibus does have a project that fell into the project selection process. So they show up in 2 places. And that's all I'd have to say. I'd just like for you to support that resolution and approve this list of projects as it goes forward in the MTP process.
Question approved. Got a motion by Mr. Warren. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Kovar. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay? Motion passes. All right. Moving on to agenda item number 8, which is discuss and take appropriate action regarding resolution 2024-10, which is amending the Title VI plan and adding a link for Federal Highway Administration to facilitate complaint monitoring and disposition. Mr. Jones.
Oops. All right, again, during our certification examination, the civil rights examiner recommended that we insert a clause in our Title VI plan, which you've already approved, and it's in the pipeline now, recommended that we insert a clause in that Title VI plan connecting to FHWA, so that FHWA, if we ever got a complaint, FHWA would be able to monitor that complaint and assist us with any resolution. And you can see in the resolution how we did that. In Appendix A.3.1, you see the the yellow highlight is where we added contact with FHWA. And then in our decision-making matrix for complaints, that's Appendix A.4, you can see we added FHWA there as well. And again, that's all I'd have to say. And I would ask you to support that resolution.
Mr. Atkins, did you have a question? Oh, okay.
I do have one question.
Judge Parrish.
Mr. Jones, in the years you've been here, have we ever received one of these complaints?
No, sir.
Just from me, Judge. It was promptly dismissed. Thank you.
We did have about 15 or 16 or so years ago, we did have one person stand before you and rail at you for not spending enough money in his precinct, but other than that, no complaint.
Any other questions regarding this resolution and motion?
If not, I will move to approve the resolution 2024-10. Second.
Motion by Judge Parrish, second by Mr. Warren. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion passes. Thank you, guys. Okay, agenda number 9, discuss and take appropriate action regarding resolution 2408, approving the 25-26 Unified Planning Work Plan, or the UPWP, and advancing it to TxDOT, the Federal Highway Administration, and Federal Transit Administration for action. Mr. Jones.
When the TAC, your advisory committee, gets the UPWP, the policy committee has already approved a statement of revenue and expenses, and you did that, you remember, at your last meeting. We, in turn, take that statement and turn it into tasks and subtasks in order to perform all the requirements that we have to do in our planning process. The highlights of the UPWP, and by the way, you had a copy of the UPWP in your agenda email. The highlights include the following. One takeaway here is that we want you to consider and take action on the recommended sub-consultant agreements and other special studies that are recommended to you by your TAC. In that regard, Task 2.3 continues the GIS agreement with the city to keep the travel demand model database updated. Task 3.2 and 3.3 continues our relationship with Citibus. However, as a result of the recent TxDOT audit, we had to eliminate the previous appearance of a fixed fee basis for our deliverables in favor of a more conventional monthly delivery basis. And you've all seen that before and talked about it. Then in subtask 3.1b, that provides for our continued and participation in TxDOT's regional coordination program. That's basically a public transportation issue for all users, making sure that no one's left behind, if you will, with regard to access to medical facilities and educational facilities and the like for underserved and handicapped populations. Subtask 3.1c provides for our continued participation in the RPO, and I'm thinking one day we'll have a joint meeting with the RPO because you've never met those folks and they've never met you, so it might be interesting to have that conversation. Anyway, 3.1c provides for our continued participation in the RPO, as they are the principal chartered transportation planning organization in the region. We also have a few new activities in Task 5. Subtask 5.1 provides for our participation in the implementation of TxDOT's Phase 2 EV, electrical vehicle plan, pursuant to guidance. 5.2 provides assistance with environmental and engineering assessments as necessary for the alcove study. Assistance to help the sponsor secure permits, basically. 5.3 provides our participation in analyzing traffic patterns and safety concerns for the 179 corridor study. Task 5.4 provides for our participation in pre-engineering activities for the Safe Streets for All program. That's help with plans and specs and the like for the enhancements for that project by Lubbock County. Task 5.5 focuses on the $50,000 budget given to us by the Commission. They gave $50,000 to all MPOs across the state to produce a safety plan under the auspices of TTI, and that work is still underway. 5.5 also contains our mandated 2.5% expenditure of our combined PL 112 money and 5303 money. Task 5.6 provides for our participation in the freight study to access movement and logistics within the region. And lastly, Task 1 again contemplates the addition of one part-time position as we presented to you at your last meeting. The document was included in your agenda email, and again, we're looking for your support for the sub-consultant agreements and the new activities in Task 5. And lastly, you will note that in your backup that both the 25 and 26, there's 25, you see the bottom total is highlighted, and there's the budget summary from the UPWP. Bottom total is highlighted with the same number. 25 and 26 revenues of revenues and expenses are presented with their corresponding 25 and 26 UPWP budget summary pages to demonstrate that the final numbers all do match. And there's the 26 budget and the 26 UPWP budget summary. So everything matches. And we've already, just so you know, we've already tweaked this UPWP in accordance with the MTP consultant so that our categories and descriptions align here with what they're talking about in the long-range plan document. So everything is rolling down the pipeline, and I would ask your support of the UPWP.
Judge Parrish. Mr. Jones, on task 3.1.C, this is the participation and, I guess, coordination with the RPO through SPAG. What is the level of participation that this MPO has with the RPO?
You don't really interact with them at all. Our staff presents, since they're a stakeholder in your jurisdiction, and vice versa, you are a stakeholder in their jurisdiction. We provide them information, keep them up to date on what we're doing. Like next Friday, I'm going to present to them the steps that we've been through and what you approved on the priority project list, just so they'll know what's going on.
I know that Mr. Warren pretty active with the RPO as well.
Mr. Warren has staff that is very active with the RPO. I attend the meetings.
You do?
Typically, this next week is going to be problematic for the department. We've got, we will have representation there, but it'll be somewhat limited. But the RPO is actually pretty beneficial to us at TxDOT. I think Mr. Jones is correct. It's more of an information exchange between the MPO and the RPO to let each other know what we're all up to. Their focus primarily at the RPO is on state system roadways that are eligible for federal funds. They helped us develop the district-wide Super 2 plan, so we could put some steps behind developing those Super 2 roadways around the district. It's also a great opportunity for those county judges to meet directly with me and the area engineers to talk about specific locations that need to be addressed, instead of them sending us an email, us scheduling a meeting and everything like that. So I invite y'all to attend just to see what it's about. It's pretty interesting, and it's turned out to be pretty useful to us.
I'll echo what Mr. Warren said. It's nearly every meeting, the high point is the face-to-face association with all the area engineers and all the county judges that sit at the board. They collaborate and commiserate.
Well, it kind of reminds us that what we're doing here kind of has fingers to the rest of West Texas. And it's not just,
Exactly.
it's easy to say, kind of look at our little projects. I won't call them little projects. That's not right, Jared. These are big projects. But these big projects really have fingers into the rest of the counties, and how
They do.
and how our economy in Lubbock and Lubbock County is so affected by the commerce that we receive from all these West Texas communities, and the transportation in and out of the hub city is vitally important for that.
Very much so.
Mr. Jones, can you give us a high-level overview of what the RPO is?
What it is?
Yes, sir.
It is the regionally chartered transportation planning organization in this district, in Mr. Warren's district, and there are, I think, 17 counties, but how many RPOs are there in the state now? 8 or 9, and they do basically the same thing. The relationship or the activity depends on how active the MPO is in the region. Since we're combined and totally within one county, we're not able to get out and do a lot of work in the other counties, so it's just an information exchange vehicle.
So MPO plans in the urbanized area,
Mm-hmm.
RPO, regional planning
Outside
that
the
area in the rest of the
urbanized
district.
area.
Got it. Role planning. Thank you.
I would add, Mr. Chairman, that it's more of a, I don't want to say a Western deal. It's more of a sparsely populated area that really utilizes this. You can imagine around the Houston, Dallas, Fort Worth areas, almost every county in those districts are involved in the MPO. And it's such a small number of folks that are what would be considered rural around those that it's hard to get those organized. But out in the West, I know Odessa has one, Amarillo has one. So you see these larger western districts where you've got one central metro area surrounded by pretty much very rural counties. It's an opportunity for those counties to not be forgotten when it comes to transportation funding.
Very good. Okay. Any other questions or comments related to the UPWP for 25-26? Seeing none, entertain a motion to approve the resolution 2024-08, approving the 25-26 UPWP. Moved by Dr. Wilson, second by Mr. Kovar. Signify by, there's a motion and a second. Any further questions? Man, my mind just went blank on me here. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Thank
That was
you.
tough to get through. I apologize. Golly. Back to school is hurting my brain already. Okay. And now we are on to, I misplaced it. We're on to the reports. No, we're using the
Agenda
public
item 10.
position. See, I'm all out of sorts here and don't have my agenda. My apologies.
Agenda item
Got it. Thank you. Man, this has gone off the rails quickly. Okay, so agenda item 10, this is a public comment period regarding the Lubbock Metropolitan Planning Organization's public participation plan. Mr. Jones.
Thank you. This agenda item is to open the second of 4 opportunities to gather public input regarding our public participation plan. This is the only part of the mandated planning process that you haven't seen, but be reminded that we do not plan to amend this document. And you got the document in your agenda email. But we do want to send it down the pipeline with everything else towards that September adoption date. The takeaway for the plan is the matrix that shows what the required public comment period is for each of those mandated documents. And that's really all it is. And we'll have another opportunity before you consider adopting the entire MTP to talk about this if you have any comments. So we'll have 2 more meetings after this one. And
Mr.
again,
Jones, was there any public participation in the prior 2 meetings?
no, we've had a meeting, I think it's in the backup. Yeah, we had a meeting on August the 7th, and this meeting today is the 2nd. And then we've got one planned for the 28th and a final review on September the 5th. And then we'll bring that back to you.
So the one today, is that concurrent with this meeting, or is that this afternoon?
That's this agenda item.
It's right now.
We'll get the chair to open a public comment
Okay, well,
meeting.
I'm looking over at the chair.
Again, our plan here is just to readopt the document that we've got now, but we want a fresh date on it so that it's consistent with all the other component parts of our planning process. So unless you have any questions, you just need to open a comment period.
Okay. We will now open the public hearing regarding the Lubbock Metropolitan Transportation public participation plan. So anyone to speak about the public participation plan, please come forward. Okay, seeing none, we will close the public participation plan and move on to agenda item number 11, which is our reports and our favorite part of the meeting. This is where all the wisdom comes from.
Mr. Chairman, before we begin the long, drawn-out process of the David Jones report, I'd like to throw out one more thing about the RPO. It's neither required nor funded by the Federal Highway Administration. That's true. It's encouraged. TxDOT feels that it's important enough item that the Lubbock District itself funds the RPO activities. So just so you're aware, we're not utilizing any federal funds on that. It would be nice if the feds would throw a few bucks towards the rural areas, but they're more focused on the metro areas.
And SPAG, the South Plains Association of Governments, is a good partner with that in coordinating and getting the county judges together for that.
So we provide funding to SPAG to coordinate, and SPAG being the South Plains Association of Governments, to organize and coordinate these meetings with the rural partners. Just want to throw that out so everybody's aware of the funding.
Yeah, and even though the organization of an RPO is codified in the TAC, TxDOT admin doesn't fund anything. They rely on the districts to fund it. Then the district doesn't have to. It's just if they want to.
Interesting. Very good, thank you.
Okay, you ready, Mr. Chair?
Let's get her done.
On page 49 through 51, you have information about the Unified Transportation Plan for 2025. That first few pages there talks about Cat 4 statewide connectivity, the rural part of that funding program, and Cat 12 strategic priority, which are project-specific priorities that are not, this money that you see there is not allocated to the MPOs, nor is it allocated to the districts. Projects are selected by a competitive statewide process. Projects in Cat 4 are chosen by TxDOT's TPP division. That's the Planning and Programming division. And while Cat 12 projects are selected at the discretion of the commission. The summary totals on the right are what has been recommended to the commission. On pages 50 through 50.
Mr. Jones, do we just not have categories in the Lubbock district that qualify for this? I mean, our funding, the authorized funding is, I mean, wow.
It's again, it's a selection, it's a statewide selection process. The districts recommend projects, and TP&P people in Austin make that selection, or the commission makes the selection. I don't know a lot more detail than that. Steve might.
Well, I don't know, it just looks woefully behind.
Mm-hmm.
You know, is there money we're like leaving off the table and not
No, sir.
getting after?
These funds are distributed, and Colin will jump up and scream if I say the wrong thing here, but these are 10-year funding distributions, and the Lubbock district has benefited in the recent past from much higher levels of these funds, you know, to get Loop 88 up and running. Each district gets, Cat 12 is very specific to a project. The commission makes those selections. We have actually received more Category 12 here recently than we've ever received in the history of the Lubbock.
But even the Cat 4 funding is.
The Cat 4 funding is limited to corridors that connect to statewide corridors, if I'm correct.
Yeah.
Loop 88 is really our only candidate for that right now, because I-27 is complete. And this is for expansion. It's not for maintenance and rehabilitation or anything like that. So US 84 is complete, you know, so it's really the Loop 88 that this body chose several years ago to redesignate as US 84 around town, to put it actually on a statewide corridor that made it eligible for this funding. So we're kind of in a fortunate position in that most of our projects that would be candidates for this funding are complete and carrying traffic today. Loop 88 is our primary target for these funds.
I was just looking at, well, 600 million in Odessa. You know, there's 165 million in Amarillo and 27 million here.
Again, those are those statewide corridor type projects. And when you're talking about Odessa, you also have to throw in what's called the Permian Promise, that when Prop 1 was approved many, many years ago, since most of that revenue comes from the Permian Basin, there was a quote-unquote promise made to Permian area to reinvest some of those funds back into the Permian Basin, and that's still underway. So there's still an infusion of funding into the Permian Basin, and I will not deny that it's not needed down there. They are woefully behind on their capacity in the Permian Basin.
I'll agree with you on that.
Amarillo trying to complete their loop around town, their first loop, I might add, while we're working on our second one. I would also throw in that completing the US 84 corridor through the Amarillo district as a 4-lane divided is part of that equation as well. Like I said, our US 84 corridor is complete as a 4-lane divided. Amarillo's is not. So These are project-specific, but they're even more than that. They're directed towards identified statewide corridors. And Commissioner New's vision is to try and expand upon the old trunk system program that was approved back in the early 90s, I believe. And then it was promptly forgotten and left in the dust. So he's fighting for rural Texas to get these corridors complete that would connect all cities in Texas, 50,000 and higher,
Yeah.
I think, with 4-lane divided roads. So a lot of this funding depends on where the projects fall on those identified statewide corridors. And I will support the commission in that they have shown considerable amount of funding support for the Lubbock metro area in the recent years. Doesn't look good on this piece of paper.
No,
I will agree. But we can't forget what we've received in the past in this
Yeah, I
area.
don't want to do that, pardon me, just want to make sure we're not leaving money on the table
Yeah.
somewhere.
We submit our candidates every year, but again, there is limited funding, and it is a statewide corridor decision as to where those funds go.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, continuing on, pages 50 through 52 is a small section specifically about the Lubbock District and what they expect to spend through the next 10-year plan and the projects that they are working on. And then on page 52, I believe in your backup are the projects relative to these expenses. Yeah. Then on page 54 is a breakdown by category for all districts and MPOs about their allocations. The Lubbock MPO shows, if I'm on the right page, it's too small for even me to see. The Lubbock MPO shows over the 10-year spread, $200,671,713 is what our total allocation is for that 10-year period. And the district is showing $454,782,993. So between the MPO and the district, we'll spend considerable money over the 10-year spread that is forecasted in this 25 UTP. Okay, so that's the discussion on the UTP. Then on page 72, we'll go through all the, you might, when you have time, you might go look at this category 7 allocation page, and that'll give you an idea of where some of that $200 million is coming from for the MPO. We'll get about a little over $8 million a year through that 10-year spread. Okay, on page 72 through 77 is information from the Association of Metropolitan Planning Organizations, or AMPO, regarding the MPO Institute that has already been launched. There is individual training and there is board training regarding financing and operational activities for MPOs in general. And so the takeaway here is that if there is interest in the board level, either individually or as a board, to participate in the MPO Institute, just let me know and I will follow up and get more information. You just need to let me know. Then moving to page 78 is the July Porch to Plains newsletter, and the reason I put this in is because it contains information on their annual meeting scheduled for September the 10th through the 12th in Dickinson, North Dakota. It also has a good description of the House and Senate Appropriation Committee's bill appropriation bills and what's next in the approval process for those bills. There's also a good description in the newsletter about how the 25 UTP that we just talked about will impact that Ports to Plains corridor development. And then moving on to '85 through '86 is an invitation from DOT to provide public input to the 2024 US DOT Equity Action Plan update to expand access and opportunity to all communities while focusing on underserved, overburdened, and disadvantaged communities for all program activities offered through DOT, FHWA, and FTA. So if you want to make a comment, there's a link in that article, or you can call me and I'll get the link for you. And then the next is a presentation on the Transportation, Housing, and Urban Development Appropriation Bill that was talked about in the newsletter, but this is a more detailed, very detailed copy or explanation of what's in that appropriation bill if you're interested in the transportation section.
I think any bill that says that it will reduce homelessness and improve air traffic safety, those are two things that really need to go together.
I don't disagree. Then on page...
Steve Warren's snarky comment of the day.
Then on page 93 to 94 is an announcement that the Commission has approved the statewide Connecting Texas 2050 long-range plan to serve as the cornerstone multimodal transportation planning document in the state. And I have to say that there is some interesting stuff in there. If you have trouble going to sleep at night, put your computer in your lap and download that document and study about Connecting Texas 2050. And now on page 95 through 96 shows the scheduled timeline for the HNTB proposed long-range plan, and we are still good on our timeline. We have been given last week all 8 chapters that have been written and reviewed by the technical committees, including the appendices, and they're ready to proceed to the September 17th adoption date, which is actually your meeting on the 20th. And we'll package all those up and get them out to you ASAP, so you'll have the next 4 weeks to look through that stuff and make any comments that you might want to make. We've had bi-weekly progress meetings with HNTB as the prime and 3 sub-consultants, along with TxDOT staff since early March. And we're still on schedule for that September 17th adoption.
Mr. Jones, just real quick, real briefly, on the August 13th virtual public meeting, was there any participation from the public virtually?
Yes.
There was?
We had 5 attendees from the public.
I'm very impressed. Thank you.
So we're looking forward to your review and an opportunity for you to discuss it prior to your September meeting. And lastly, well, not lastly, but there's no backup for this. Your board elections are coming October the 15th, and we'll leave the board to your own discretion to make your recommendations for a new chair to serve through October 26th and a new vice chair to serve through October 26th. Just FYI. And quickly, we managed our federal certification review in good stead. They're working on our review report, currently, and maybe we'll get that in the next 2 or 3 weeks, I hope, and we'll bring that to you as a presentation. Now, lastly, the financial report through June are the 75th percentile. We are still only 88% collected on our revenue, and we are at only 60% on our expenses. So we're good on our budget. And that's my report, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Jones. Just a quick note about the federal certification that I sat through most of those couple days there, and it went really, really well with a lot of, what do they call, accommodations? Is that what the word they use on that? A lot of accommodations for our MPO and the work that they've done, and so it was a really good certification review. So, anything else from the group here? All right, seeing none, we will adjourn at 9:16. Thanks so much. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you for your attendance and participation this morning.